Page 82, Alouette Day. On the previous pages, they're introducing dotted rhythms. For some reason, dotted rhythms seem to give a lot of people problems. And they don't need to be. They're really not difficult if we just take them slowly and carefully. Let's take a look at pages 80 and 81 briefly, okay? Just turn the page back and take a look. The general rule of a dot is the dot gets half the value of the note. And you've already had a dotted note. You've had dotted half notes for quite some time. And in a dotted half note, in 4/4 or 3/4 time, whatever, a half note gets 2 counts, so the dot's going to get 1, so a dotted half note gets 3 counts. It's 3 quarter notes, whatever. Well, here we're getting a dotted quarter note. No big deal. Again, the dot gets half the value of the note. So if the quarter note gets 1 count, the dot gets a half a count. It's like an eighth note. So a dotted quarter note is simply worth 3 eighth notes. And if you look at the first line here on page 81, they give you, as an example, silent 9. It's 3/4 times, so it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, okay, 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. It's like 3 eighth notes. 1, 2, 3. Okay. In the second one, they give you deck the halls. Again, dotted rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Big deal. In the third one, this is the left hand, it's 1 and 2 and, right? Dotted rhythms are not difficult, so don't make them difficult. It's just count them out carefully. In the last line, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So as long as you do that. Now what I do sometimes when I'm faced with a rhythm and I'm having trouble figuring it out is I will take a pencil and I will draw a vertical line above the staff on each beat, where the beat is. So I know where beat 1 is, I draw a line down, that's beat 1, and then for beat 2, wherever that is, I'll draw another line down, and then another one for each beat, however many beats there are, and that keeps the beat, so I know if I'm counting 1, 2, I gotta hit those numbers on my lines, 1, 2, 3. Everything else has to come between them. And that really helps me out when I get in a bind of what's going on. Well, in Alouette Day on page 82, we have dotted rhythms and lots of eighth notes and all kinds of wonderful stuff going on. Let's talk about it briefly. Right at the beginning, in the right hand, it's in 4/4 times, so we're going to count to 4. And since we have the eighth notes, we can put the and in between the numbers. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So we simply count it out very carefully. It's pretty straightforward. It's just, I'm really not sure why people have struggling with it unless they already have it in their head that it's going to be hard. And if you've done that, you've like shot yourself in the foot before you've gone hunting. So try and step back and think, this doesn't need to be difficult. Let's just count it out carefully and slowly. In Alouette Day, once you get the rhythm, now the way I approach things is I generally try and get the notes and the fingering, all right? So forget the rhythm, just get the notes. Now once I have the notes down, then I can go back and add the rhythm to it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. And once I have the rhythm, then I can, I do this one hand at a time. I work the hands out one hand at a time. Get the hands together, and then you can start adding the phrasing and the dynamics and the pedaling and all that other junk. I always do pedaling last. In this piece, there's no pedal, so we don't have to worry about it. So get that. The dynamics wise, the first 2 measures are loud, and then the last measure of the first line, suddenly you're soft. And then in the second line, you have that swell, you're going to get louder again. And then you get softer, and then third line, you're loud. And then for the last line, the last couple measures, you're soft. All right. So try and do what you can do with that. The phrasing, I have a problem with the phrasing in some cases, not just this book, but a lot of books. They've got phrasing marked for each measure. On the, like the first line, it's like. My problem with that is that short phrases make a piece sound choppy. And I don't like choppy pieces, unless it's the mood of the piece. Some pieces are meant to sound choppy in this case. In this case, I would combine the first two measures in one phrase. I wouldn't split it up. So it would be one measure, one phrase. And then the last measure would start a new phrase. And I would connect this to the next measure, all one phrase. This is how I suggest you do it. At the bottom of the piece, the last two lines, the last measure of the third line going on, I would connect the last measure of the third line with the first measure of the fourth line, all one phrase, and then I would connect the last two measures of the piece together as all one phrase. I would not separate those. Having said all that, 4/4 time, let's try it out slowly because of the eighth notes. Okay. So I'll give us 4 counts. You're in C position to start. 1, 2, ready, go. 1 and 2 and